Alan Jouban versus Jared Gooden. We got minus 140 on the returning Alan Jouban and plus 120 on the UFC newcomer Jared Gooden, I should say. A lot of people are getting him confused with Jared Gordon, who fights at 145 pounds and sometimes 155. But this is Jared Gordon fighting at 170 pounds and fights like an absolute tank. But let's start off on the other side with Alan Jouban. And one thing I do want to iterate actually is this fight did open at a pick'em, and now the money is slowly coming in on Alan Jouban, and I kind of understand it once you really start to run the tape. However, there are a lot of question marks regarding the X factors around Alan Jouban. So he hasn't fought since April of 2019 at UFC 236, where he lost a close decision, a split decision, albeit to Dwight Grant. They went at it for 3 rounds, a lot of movement, a lot of pitter-patter shots. Dwight Grant did land probably the most significant blow in the second round when he kind of hurt Allen. But outside of that, it was just a lot of pitter-patter back and forth. We did see Jouban go for a takedown near the ending of the fight to hopefully steal the victory for him. Unfortunately for him, it was not enough to get the victory there. But one of the issues here with Alan Jouban has always been the questioning of his chin. A lot of people are saying the guy's very chinny. Almost anybody can knock him out, and I find that to be a little bit interesting because he's only been finished with punches twice in his career. Once by Nico Price, who pretty much can put anybody out, and then Albert Tumenov. If a lot of people remember him, he was a very high level fighter. I'm not sure why the UFC let him go, but he is a guy that could put out a lot of guys as well. But in terms of getting knocked down, he's been knocked down 3 times in his UFC career. He's had how many fights? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 fights, and he's been knocked down 3 times. Obviously by Nico Price, by Albert Tumenov, and then Matt Dwyer, who's a very long and rangy fighter. So I could absolutely see why and how he got knocked down there. But he's managed to not get knockdowns against Bilal Muhammad, Mike Perry, Ben Saunders, Gunnar Nelson, even Dwight Grant, who kind of hits quite hard himself too. If you guys remember, Dwight Grant rocked Daniel Rodriguez before he was able, before he eventually got taken out by Daniel Rodriguez. But Grant definitely has a lot of power behind his punches, and Alan Jouban ate a lot of them. So let me just dispel that for you guys real quick. But another X factor here is also Alan Jouban's age. He's been off for it's nearing 2 years now. It's just under 5 months from 2 years. Okay, let's say a year and a half. I'm kind of reaching by saying 2 years, trying to over exaggerate this shit. But yeah, he's been off for a year and a half, but that's probably not the best thing to do when you're 38 years old. Not only is he 38, but he's turning 39 3 or 4 days after. So the fight is on the 21st. Yep, the fight's on the 21st. He turns 39 on the 25th. So he's definitely getting up there in age. And something even John Anik says in that fight against Dwight Grant is, the clock is ticking. He's 37 years old at the time. And the clock is definitely ticking on him for actually to go out there and really put a stamp on his career and try to make one last run. And I think in the welterweight division, it's going to be very, very difficult for Alan Jouban to go out there and get a title, to beat a guy like Colby Covington or to beat a guy like Kamaru Usman. Anybody in those top 3, top 4, Hamza Chimaev, who's making a run now too, as well as Leon Edwards. I just don't see Alan Jouban going out there and beating guys like that. See, that's the difficult part. Now, Jordan Gooden, on the other end, 26 years old. He's a prospect on the up and up, but he's had a ton of experience. We're talking about a guy that has over 21 fights, and he's 26 years old. He made his pro MMA debut August of 2015, and in 5 years, just over 5 years, he's managed to accrue over 21 fights. That's a crazy amount of fights. During this COVID time, he fought a guy, this was right before COVID, maybe 2 or 3 weeks before COVID. He beat a guy that was 3-13, a guy named Jay Jackson. He rear naked choked him pretty much a minute and a half into the fight. And then he goes out there in Titan FC in July and finishes a guy named Trent McCowan. I'm slightly questioning the level of competition that he's been fighting of late. Even the fight before the Jay Jackson fight, he fought a guy named Marcel Stamps, who was 4-1, looked absolutely gassed after that first round, and it seemed he tapped more so to exhaustion than that actual guillotine choke. Yeah, the guillotine choke was tight for sure, but it was a standing guillotine choke. He didn't really even look for a way out, really, and he tapped to that choke. One thing that Gooden looks like he has... he looks like he has power. Looks like he has solid stand up, but it does also look like that he does have some possible gas tank issues. And, Jouban has a solid gas tank on him. And if he's able to kind of pick apart Jared Gooden from the outside and use his movement, he could potentially, pull off a decision victory here. I tried getting into the Stephen Newell fight, wasn't able to access that. The Bruno Oliveira fight, that one was very quick for Jared Gooden. Gets absolutely starched by Bruno Oliveira, but then has come back 3 straight fights, and now he finds himself in the UFC. He was actually supposed to fight Dwight Graham back in August. Unfortunately, he had to pull out due to some sort of injury, and now here he is coming back in against Alan Jouban. So, personally, I think it's early Jared Gooden or late Alan Jouban. I wish I could see that Stephen Newell fight to really get a feel on Jared Gooden's cardio and how he was able to pull out a decision victory against a guy that was 9-0. Let's see what Stephen Newell's up to now and what his record has been like. 9-2, so he's only had one more fight since that Jared Gooden fight, and he got knocked out in a minute. That was just last week, actually, too. This is a tough one because, again, there's so many question marks regarding Alan Jouban and what he's going to look like after coming back from so long. And then Jared Gooden, he's, a UFC newcomer, skeptical competition, at least in his last 3 fights, but I don't want to shit on that too much because the guy has over 21 fights and he's fought, Bruno Oliveira, Mike Graves, Micah Miller, if you guys remember him. I believe he is Cole Miller's brother, if I'm not mistaken. The guy's been around. He has a ton of experience. So, if you have more than 15 fights, you should probably be in the UFC at this point in time, especially if you have a solid record behind that too. So, man, personally, I'm just gonna pass on this fight in total. I don't even like the total either. The over under. Again, if it's under, it's probably Jared Gooden winning. If it's over, it's probably Alan Jouban winning. I'm going to go the safe route. I'm going to go with the UFC vet. I'm going to go with Alan Jouban. But in terms of betting this fight, I'm staying the fuck away. I really want to see what Jared Gooden's made of. He could absolutely go in there and starch Alan Jouban in that first minute. But again, I'm buying into the possible, the lack of the lack of respect people are giving Jouban's durability. I'm kind of dispelling that just as I did earlier in this breakdown. So once again, I'll go with Alan Jouban, kind of sticking and moving, possibly even taking this fight to the ground, just as he did late in that Dwight Grant fight. Maybe he tries to nullify the power of Jared Gooden by doing that, getting this fight to the ground or pushing him up against the cage, whatever it is, trying to suck those muscles dry, trying to reduce the amount of power coming back to him from the night train. But I'll go with Jouban. Kind of hurts to say that, especially if, with my guy Dan Levy over there at Best Fight Picks. He sponsored Jared Gooden for a long time. I believe they're boys. I believe he's trained with them a couple times too, if I'm not mistaken. I want to see a little bit more from the guy. It's tough for me to bet a guy that seems to have sketchy cardio. People can say what they want about me betting Al Hassan last time, but I was absolutely sure that he's going to get that first round knockout. Unfortunately, it went the other way. But I think Alan Jouban just has a little bit more ways to get this fight done with. But I'll be the first one to say I'm scared of the fact that he's 38, 39 years old and has been out of the cage for as long as he has, especially against an up-and-coming hungry guy like Jared Gooden. So my official pick is going to be Alan Jouban, but by no means am I confident in it.